Hi, welcome to the Whitey White Guy Show. I'm Whitey, and today I'm going to review the film Buried Alive 2, which came out in 1997. That stars Stephen Caffrey and other people. Uh, Tim Matheson is in this. Tracy Needman, Ali Sheedy, sorry. Oh, and Brian Libby, who's been in other stuff. Not familiar, Buried Alive 2, of course, is the sequel to Buried Alive, which came out in 1990. I just did a review on that yesterday. And in Buried Alive, there's a guy played by Tim Matheson who his wife and her doctor, who are having an affair, conspire to kill Tim Matheson's character because his small contracting company, carpentry company, is worth has offers to sell for 1.5 million to guys wanting to buy his business for 1.5 million. And he's loyal to his business. He's living in a small town, built a house. This is life he wants. But his wife is like, I can't stand living in the middle of nowhere in this crap hole house, and sell the company and let's get out of here. And her doctor goes in with her to kill Tim Matheson's character so they can go to LA and start a business or something like that. Long story short, they want the money. And so if they kill him, they can sell the business and get the money. So the doctor, there's some tropical fish that has poison in it that can go undetected or something. They get some of that from the tropical fish. They spike his drink. But the wife is nervous, so she spills some of it or something and only gets some of it in, not enough in there to kill him. But he has what appears to be a heart attack. Looks like he's dead. Police show up, the coroner. They send him to the morgue. They bury the guy. She wants him buried right away. So it's a rush process. They don't involve him because of this. And then he wakes up in his casket under the earth in his grave. Manages to get out of there, which is like the one part of the film where you're like, they must have buried him shallow. Because when he punched through they used the old wooden casket that wasn't very strong. He was able to punch that and then reach up and his hand was above the surface. And it's like, you must have been like a foot and a half deep tops from the top of that casket. He escapes the casket, digs his way out, and then seeks vengeance on the wife and the doctor, ultimately trapping her in a casket and burying her alive after the doctor dies because he accidentally injects himself with the same kind of poison. That's Buried Alive. This is Buried Alive 2. It came out 7 years later. So in this one, it's the same basic premise. You have Stephen Caffrey, who's cheating on his wife with another young woman who's a gorgeous hot blonde. And I forget all the details, but they end up doing the same thing because they hear about it from a guy at a bar. And the same thing happens. It's a sequel. And Stephen Caffrey's wife gets buried alive. This time, the guy from the first movie, who has been wandering the earth, I guess, knows her through circumstances. He comes back because the sheriff from the first one, buddy, has passed away of natural causes. He comes back to pay his respects, and then, long story short, he sees something fishy going on here. He's like, I recognize how this goes, and so he tries to warn the wife that Stephen Caffrey and the woman he's cheating with, they're going to try to kill her. They ultimately do. Try to kill her. She gets buried alive. He shows up and starts digging her out. But the poison that was in him from years back has had a devastating effect on his heart. He goes into the hospital towards the beginning of the movie because of a heart attack. He gets released. And so as he's digging her out, just gets to the casket, drops dead of a heart attack. She manages to get out of the casket because he's unburied her. And opened the casket at first, but then had the heart attack before he could get her out. So the casket closes, but she manages to get open. And now she is going to seek revenge on Stephen Caffrey and the blonde lady he's with for trying to kill her. Same basic story. And then he wants to buy a boat So when she's dead, he gets the money, he buys a boat, and ultimately that they end up drowning in the, getting stuck in the, like, she sinks the boat with him on it, and that's how they get buried alive. So it's a revenge film as well. Same basic beats, same basic story. Um, so for 1997, it's a fair enough looking film in terms of cinematography and all that. Not a big budget movie. They were both made for TV movies. The first film was directed by, I believe, written and directed by Frank Darabont, who went on to direct Shawshank Redemption, and his career took off from there. He's done a bunch of good work since. This one was directed by Tim Matheson, who was the star of the first one, and he does a solid job for 1997. This in a TV made for TV movie. This is a solid movie. It's no Matrix or anything, but hey, it's fine. Competently helmed and directed. Um, the performances are all fair and good. I'm a big Stephen Caffrey fan. From hold on one second, I'll show you. Oh, I got some damage on there. Oh no. Let's see. Here he is right there. That guy right there, Stephen Caffrey. And there's Baker, who was in the Major League movies that I just reviewed, a.k.a. Eric Prescott. So there's Stephen Caffrey. He was in all 3 seasons of Tour Duty. I thought he did a great job. He's primarily he's been in TV and with this one made for TV movies. He hasn't acted in a long time. He's been doing theater lately, but he's the lead here. And I think he's a solid actor. Now, another YouTuber I was following a review of didn't like his performance, and I'm kind of like, I get it, and he said that Tim Matheson did a much better job. I believe he mentioned Tim in the first one, or maybe it was the guy who played the doctor. And the guy who played the doctor in the first one is the redhead guy from the movie Ghostbusters, who works for the EPA, who wants to shut down the Ghostbusters. In tone of film, real serious movie, I agree. The guy did it, but that guy was better for that film. This one with Steve, he can play drama really well, and he plays wit and sarcasm really well. And this character was written that way. There was written to be a little more wit and sarcasm in his character. At one point, all things are falling apart on him, and the blonde says something stupid. Sorry, but I'm still getting over it. The blonde said something stupid, and he goes, If it was raining brains, you would be dry. Or so if it was raining smarts, you'd be bone dry, something like that. So I thought that Stephen Caffrey did a good job with material and what he was, what the director wanted him to do in this film. And I stand by him. I think he's a good actor. But I can see where the criticism is. It's a sequel. It's got sequelitis. We already did this. It's the same basic movie. Let's start, try to make it a little fun. And so I can see how, though, in the tone of a movie about people being buried alive, a little wit and humor might rub you the wrong way. But I thought he did a good job. And so, yeah, there's not too much to this film. I mean, it's what I just said. What's interesting about both these films, and I said this in the previous review, is that the characters aren't overly simplistic. So in the first one, when the doctor and the wife are trying to get away and everything, there's some problem solving there. There's some attempts at conflict resolution. They try to get out of their situation. Um, they're not just boringly evil, maniacal people. What they did was horrible. Or what they tried to do, rather, because ultimately nobody ends up... the good guys don't get killed. They both survive. But what they tried to do is awful. But they're not portrayed as just dumb simplistic. They, you almost half rooting for them to get out of this because you like the actors. That's my opinion anyway. And the same thing here. And I just like that about the film. It kept it interesting. Had you just hated their guts, because in both cases, the second part of the second act, they find themselves in a bad situation now. They tried to pull the shit off. It's backfiring hard. So they're trying to get out of the situation. So at one point, Steve Caffrey's he's on a sinking ship, and he's trying to get out of a sinking ship and trying to find out why it's all this stuff. And half rooting for the guy. Despite what he did here. In the first film, the wife, she wants that money. There's greed.
She wants out of this way of life, but you can also see her perspective a bit, how she doesn't want to be in the situation she's in. It's like, yeah, just divorce the guy. Don't kill him. So she wanted the money. But she's not like sadistic. And she's not sure, she's regretting what she did before it even happens, kind of thing. She's like, God, should I do this? What am I doing? But the doctor guy kind of pushes her and said, no, we're doing this. And so you can see how on her own she would have never done this. But with him, now she's doing it. So that makes it interesting. So when they're trying to escape their situation, you feel sympathetic for her plight. Not so much for the doctor because he's the asshole, but for her, you can kind of, if it wasn't for him, she wouldn't be here. But she agreed to it, so there's that. On this one, it's the opposite. It's like Steve Caffrey wouldn't have done this on his own, but because of the hot blonde is like driving him, you can see how he kind of got pushed into something he otherwise might not have done. He agreed to do it, so you don't 100% forgive the guy, but you kind of feel some degree of empathy for him, because again, this shit wouldn't have happened otherwise. It is humid as hell. I'm sweating like a monkey. So, but what that does is it keeps it interesting. You're still half with them as they try to get out of their situation. If they were just evil, sadistic, horrible people, you'd just be waiting for them to get killed, and it wouldn't be as entertaining in the second half of the film. So that's smart moves by the writers and the filmmakers, and I enjoy these films. I'd seen them both way back, so I did kind of skip along itis as opposed to watching all the way through. But they're both, Frank Darabont knows good actors. They're jam packed with good actors. It's big characters, some small characters. They're both made for TV movies with small budgets, so they didn't try to be too serious about themselves and too dramatic, where you just weren't going to pull that off with a small budget. They didn't try to say anything profound about society. They weren't trying to save the world. They're just two small, tight, in the pocket films that serve the purpose that they're out there to serve. And both films really rely heavily on your carnal fear, your primordial fear of being buried alive. And what would that be like? And so they find the right balance of serious enough in tone, but not super dark, and have moments of levity and what stuff, so enough that you're enjoying yourself. So, two good films, Buried Alive and Buried Alive 2. Not great epic films, but fun. Fun enough films to go watch. So I recommend them both. And then I'm going to be watching and reviewing. I'm going to basically look up Steve's whole damn career. Steve Caffrey right there. And review all his stuff because I'm a fan. And I wish he was getting more work today because he's a talented actor. So that's what I got to say about that. And thank you for watching Whitey White Guy Show. If you're still here, you're enjoying the content, like, subscribe, check out my other videos. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.